Welcome, everyone. Today we're jumping into one of the biggest, most foundational ideas in all of science, the theory of evolution.
Yeah, and it really is more than just a theory. It's a story. It's the epic tale of how life on this planet went from, a single, simple start to the absolute explosion of diversity we see all around us today.
Exactly, Alex. And that really is the question at the heart of it all. I mean, just stop and think for a second. From the tiniest microbe to the biggest blue whale, the variety is it's mind-boggling.
So how did we get here? How did this all happen? That's the big mystery we're going to try and unravel.
To really appreciate just how revolutionary Darwin's idea was, we have to rewind the clock a bit. We've got to understand what people thought before he came along.
Because for, centuries? Thousands of years, the whole way people looked at the natural world was totally different, right?
Oh, completely. For ages, the big thinkers like Plato and Aristotle, they really set the stage. Their idea was that every species was basically fixed. It was created perfectly for its role, and that's it. No change, ever.
And that wasn't just some dusty old philosophy. It was backed up by what they called natural theology, which it basically said, hey, look how perfectly designed everything is. That's got to be proof of a creator.
But, over time, some cracks started to show in that fixed world idea. In the 1700s, you had Carolus Linnaeus, who started classifying life, grouping similar animals and plants together.
And then Georges Cuvier, who was studying fossils, proved that species could actually go extinct, which was a huge deal back then.
But the real game changer came from geology. A guy named Charles Lyell started arguing that the Earth wasn't just a few thousand years old, it was ancient. And it changed super slowly over vast amounts of time.
And right around then, you had biologists like Jean-Baptiste Lamarck who started to float this wild idea that maybe, just maybe, life itself could change, that it could evolve.
So what was Lamarck's big idea? I think I remember hearing something about a blacksmith. If he gets really strong arms, his kids will be born with strong arms. That's the one. It's the classic example. Lamarck's theory was called the inheritance of acquired traits. He thought that if a giraffe spent its whole life stretching its neck to reach leaves, its babies would just pop out with longer necks, which we know now is not how it works at all. You pass on your genes, your DNA, not the muscles you built going to the gym. Exactly. He was on the right track that things change, but the how, the mechanism, was just wrong. Still, it was a really important first step. Okay, so the stage is set. We've got clues everywhere. Fossils showing extinction, an ancient Earth, a system for organizing life. Right. All the pieces were kind of lying around. But it took one person to see how they all fit together. And that person, of course, was Charles Darwin. When he was just 22 years old, Darwin took a trip that would change the world. He spent 5 years sailing around the globe on the HMS Beagle. He wasn't some famous scientist yet, just a really curious naturalist. But the things he saw on that trip, the weird and wonderful animals on the Galapagos Islands, the fossils he uncovered in South America, it all started clicking into place. He spent years after he got back, quietly building his case, until finally, in 1859, he published it all in one of the most important books ever, The Origin of Species. So Darwin's main idea was both incredibly simple and totally profound. He called it descent with modification.
So, wait, is that basically saying that all of life is part of one giant branching family tree, and we all started from some common ancestor way, way back?
That's it exactly. He was arguing that everything is related. And over these immense stretches of time, as different branches of the family moved into new places, they slowly gathered changes, modifications, that helped them survive there. Okay, but that's the billion-dollar question, right? How does that happen? What's the engine that's actually driving all this change?
And that was Darwin's true stroke of genius. He didn't just say evolution happens. He figured out the mechanism. He called it natural selection.
Okay, let's break this down because the logic is just beautiful. Natural selection only needs 3 things to be true. First up, you need variation.
Right, that's easy enough. Just look at any group of people or dogs or anything. Nobody's identical. There are always little differences.
Second, you need differential reproduction. Now that sounds complicated, but all it means is that some of those little differences give an individual an edge, a better shot at surviving and having more kids than the others.
And the third piece is heredity. Those helpful traits have to be something you can actually pass down to your kids through your genes.
And here's the kicker. If you have those 3 things, variation, differential reproduction, and heredity, evolution by natural selection isn't just a possibility, it's a certainty. It has to happen.
So let's make this real with a super simple example. Picture a bunch of beetles. Because of variation, some of them are green and some are brown.
Okay, and let's say they live on the brown bark of a tree. So hungry birds are flying around, and they can spot those bright green beetles way more easily. The brown ones just blend in. That's differential reproduction in action.
Exactly. The brown beetles are better hidden, so they're more likely to survive and, well, make more baby beetles. And since color is a trait you can inherit, that's heredity. They pass on their genes for brown coloring.
And the result? You fast forward a few generations, and what do you see? A whole lot more brown beetles. The environment itself basically selected which trait was better.
And if you take that simple process and you let it run for not just a few generations, but millions and millions of years,
You get one of the most amazing results in all of nature: adaptation.
an adaptation is really just the outcome of all that natural selection. It's any trait that makes an organism a better fit for its environment, that helps it survive and reproduce.
So can you give us a really clear, real-world example? What does a full-blown adaptation look like?
Oh, absolutely. Let's look at a true masterpiece of natural engineering. Just think about a bird's wing for a second. It's not just an arm with feathers slapped on. Every single part of it is a stunning adaptation for flight. You have the perfect aerodynamic shape that creates lift.
And those huge chest muscles they have, they're basically just giant engines to power the flapping.
Not to mention their bones are hollow and super lightweight to keep their body mass down. Every single one of those features is a direct result of natural selection, over countless generations favoring any little change that made flight just a tiny bit better. It's a perfect example of structure matching function. So you're telling me that this one simple idea, natural selection, is powerful enough to explain everything from why a beetle is brown all the way up to how a bird flies? Yes, that's why it's so huge. It is the unifying theory for all of biology. It's the thread that connects every single living thing on this planet. And remember that question we started with? Why are there so many different kinds of life?
Well, we've named about 1.5 million species so far, but scientists think the real number could be anywhere from 5 million to maybe even 100 million.
And evolution is the framework. It's the only idea that gives us a coherent way to understand where all of that breathtaking diversity actually came from. And this is the really beautiful part. Darwin's theory doesn't just explain why life is so diverse and varied.
It also explains why it's so unified. I mean, deep down, at the level of our DNA and our cells, we share a history with every other living thing. We are all, just as Darwin said, related. We all descend from that one common ancestor way back in the past.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. Yeah, if everything is connected through this slow, gradual change, then how exactly does one species actually become a totally new and different species?
Now that is a story for another time, but it's the next logical step in this incredible journey of life.